Yeah, I didn't even notice till you just said it. Just connecting. Okay.
Okay, let's please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
Flag, the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, justice for all.
Please be seated. Madam Clerk, could I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Christine Adamsack. Councilmember Linda Hammer. Councilmember Michael Jazinski.
Here.
Councilmember Gerald Kaminsky. Councilmember Brian Nowak.
Present.
Councilmember Brian Pilarski.
Present.
Supervisor Diane Benchkowski.
Here. Okay, we have 7 members present tonight. Items of discussion, new project at CalSpan, Mark Parisi, Steve Federico, I'm not sure who's here today, Chris Nicosia, Amanda Newton. Oh, did they know? All right, maybe they're running late, so we can always come back to that one. Is that okay? Why don't you try to call them? See, maybe they're on their way. Oh, that's right, so then you're next on the agenda anyway, Rick, too, so, or, are you talking about the Restore New York, or somebody else? Oh, okay, good. So, Tony, you're here to present your project to us, and Camille's helping with the Restore New York. So do you want to introduce and explain the Restore New York grant? And then, good, nice to meet you, Tony. Let's have Camille explain the grant, because I'm not sure how, I know there have been emails going back and forth, but.
Right. So I'll let Tony pass this out. What this is all about is the town of Cheektowaga is interested in applying for a Restore New York grant for property located on Harlem Road that's in need of replacement. So the grant, Restore New York grants, are grants that Governor Hochul did this year, and they provide sums of money in the amount of $3 million at least, depending on your population. So Tony is a developer. The properties are located. There was 3600 Harlem, which Tony is still working with the owner of 3600 Harlem, and he's trying to work out a deal with him. But the property we're going to talk about tonight is the other property on Harlem Road, which is the Polish Villa. And Tony is a developer that has developed other property. So what we're here tonight is to explain to you what he proposes to do. We're going to write the grant, or we're going to have a grant and submit it to ESD, which is the Regional Economic Development Council. And we've been meeting with them for the past 6 months at least. And they've been helping us with the application. So we expect to have the application done. Needs to be filed by January 27th. So we're here tonight to tell you a little bit about the project that Tony wants to do and how we're going to apply for this and how we're going to apply for it in the name of the town of Cheektowaga. And we're also going to, there has to be a match here. And we've been meeting with ESD about, rather than have the town come up with the match, we're going to try to have the match go through the developer. So those are the things we're working on with this.
Okay. Welcome, Tony. Nice to meet you.
Yes, pleasure meeting you guys. So my name's Tony D'Arpino from Taylor the Builders, also Greenleaf Builders. We're based out of Rochester, New York. I've done work in the town of Cheektowaga before for Mark Fuller and DePaul, and his most recent project, that was me and when I was with Home Leasing. But this project itself, like Camille had said, we've been looking for a while for a property in Cheektowaga. It started off at 3600 Harlem Road, and we're still working with that owner. but we sort of pivoted to a variety of other properties, which are these 7 parcels between 1085 Harlem Road and 1109 and 1111 Harlem Road. So our intent is to combine those 11 properties, put them all together into one project, and put up a 5-story, 82,000 square foot, approximately 16,500 square feet per floor. The unit configuration is about 93 units, sort of combines 1 and 2 bedroom units. We have everything in place. We have a not-for-profit. All our partners are in place. We're working with Camille and Rick and Dan Young of the town. We have conceptuals. We have consultants in place. We're about to, once we get site control finalized, which we're waiting for, a couple loose ends, we're ready to take the next step on this project, working with the town. Any questions?
Well,
The packet that I have given you, it's on Harlem Road, obviously. It's,
Is it under number 1?
yes, so there's 7 parcels that are listed. I believe 3 of them are part of, with the owner of 1085, which is the Polish Villa.
Okay.
The other 4 parcels are owned by a gentleman named Eric Krieger, Krieger Development. Him and I got to be good friends throughout this whole process, which is fantastic. So it combines those 7 parcels together. So it's not an easy, typical situation, but I'm used to these harder challenges where you combine a lot of parcels.
It says here that you provide affordable homing or housing. Could you expand on that?
Yeah, it's workforce, oh, go ahead. So it's typically workforce housing. It takes into account everyone that currently lives in the area, works in the area. It takes into account your average median income of all the individual residents that live in the area already, providing new housing for existing clients.
So what is the average rent for one of these average-sized places?
So we've done very preliminary pro formas. For the most part, I think anywhere from, based on if it's 1 bedroom or 2 bedroom, anywhere from $850 to say $975, plus or minus.
Does that include utilities?
We haven't worked that out yet. Obviously, that's one of the items that we're sort of still tackling. Historically, it has, but we're still trying to work that out. And we're working that out with our not-for-profit, which will own the building once construction is complete. So typically, we joint venture with a not-for-profit. We act as the developer or co-developer, and we act as a GC. Once construction completes, then we hand it off to the not-for-profit, which owns the building and manages the property. So it's up to them to actually rent it out and lease it out. Yep.
Yeah, a couple of questions about the parking. In the packet here, you talk about an open lot. Are you using landscaping to buffer between the parking lot and the residences behind? Or are you picturing fencing, or what is that gonna look like?
I would prefer landscaping, but it's pretty much, you know, it's really gonna be a collaboration between all of us. We're open to suggestions. It just depends, you know, pick your poison on what you guys would like. Landscaping historically seems to be a better fit to me. Sometimes it doesn't define a property as hard as a fence does, but it just depends on the look that everybody wants.
And when you have a lot like that, you have to obviously have lighting in the nighttime, so, and you gotta find a nice sweet spot between it not being too bright and bothering the residents, and having enough lighting to make sure people are safe going through the lot and all that, so, you know, with the lighting you have, if it could be adjustable or dimmable at certain times, that would be great.
So what we'll do is we'll work with our consultants and our engineers, and we'll create a photometrics that will be beneficial to the area. It won't create too much light, but at the same token, it'll offer enough light and security for the residents.
I have a couple questions. Question 1, your non-for-profit Pathstone, where are they from?
They're based out of Rochester, New York,
Okay,
East Avenue.
sounds good.
Yep.
And while you guys are doing this project, will you be asking for any pilots or tax breaks along the way?
Yes, we are anticipating working with the town of Cheektowaga and trying to have a pilot on a small space on the first floor.
And in addition to this project, have you already done a SWOT analysis for this project? Seeing the school districts can handle this if need be and all that?
Our consultants are, and that's part of the process.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Great question.
could you?
I just wanted to mention one thing. This is a $33 million project for the town of Cheektowaga. The only part that we're asking for in the Restore New York grant is the $6 million site contract. and it's the responsibility of tearing down the building and making the property ready for the development. So that's the only portion that we're looking for in the Restore New York grant. And I wanted to make that clear. This is not funding for the entire project, and Tony is taking care of the rest of the project. And that's where the town comes in, because the Restore New York grants are specifically for towns and municipalities to do economic development. This is the governor's way of giving towns the opportunity for economic development and providing funds to do that. So that's the portion we're looking for.
And the
I just
match is,
wanna make
the
sure.
match is only 10% of that 6
Yeah,
million,
the
right?
match is 10%.
So to summarize it, and correct me if I'm wrong, is, to summarize it, and correct me if I'm wrong on any of it, is we're going for the state money here, the $6 million, hoping to get ESD as the match of it, not costing that,
Yes, it goes through the ESD portal.
correct?
So this is one of those competitive loans.
Yep.
And it's just like any of the other loans that go through regional economic development. It'll go through the whole process of review. We've had ongoing meetings with the people at the regional economic development partnership area, and they love this project.
Yeah.
And so they've been helping us along the way, making sure we have all our i's dotted and our t's crossed. So after we submit it in January, then we get a process of writing letters of support. But the thing is, if you don't submit it, you're not gonna get the money.
Correct.
So we want to at least submit it and give them the opportunity to either deny it or accept it.
So if the town, because the town would be the one awarded the grant, right, the 6 million? So if we were to get it, would we have to do all the work to get the or to get those to tear it down, or do we then award it? So we're just a pass-through?
And that's where the 10% match is going to come in.
Okay,
That's not, so Camille said perfectly. The town acts as a sponsor, basically.
okay.
Yep, and then we, if awarded, if accepted, then we get the monies at the end of the construction period.
And this grant's for phase 1, just for the demo to make it shovel-ready?
Yes, and
Okay.
and that would include, to add to that, includes the abatement within the building. Yep.
Had you considered a mixed-use project there, like the bottom being storefronts and then the top floors?
We've historically, I've worked with a number of other developers in the past, and the way the pro formas typically work, in the leasing of the first floors for retail spaces doesn't always, it's not necessarily, a profitable center usually. So we try to combine a space on the first floor. We've done a variety of different spaces. We've been successful in this one pilot where a program where we've had a diner on the first floor. And that really actually sort of was like a bridge between the new building that we put up and the community. We don't always like to put up a lot of retail on the first floor, because it's not always successful, and then you have potentially the opportunity for vacant spaces, and that doesn't always look very good. So we try to keep it relatively small with, certain square footage for, like, say, again, for a diner of some sort, doesn't have to be that. If I'm just using that as an example.
Oh, I understand,
Yep.
yeah, because if we're looking for economic development, it's such a dead zone right now that I'm wondering, how that will help the area except
Yeah,
for housing.
nothing, our drawings right now are very conceptual, and I think that's why we're sort of in parallel, still looking at 3600 Harlem Road also. We have a lot of investors behind us, and myself, of course, so we're really looking to put our footprint in the area, to kind of build for Mark Fuller.
Okay. Any other council members have any questions? So you're going to be applying for this soon, right?
Yes, we are. Actually, one of the processes is having approval from the town board just to submit the application. So right now, we're working on the application. We're getting all the finalized documents which are more than I thought. There's a lot of documents we're putting together. And the application has to be filed by 4 o'clock on January 22nd. And we anticipate having the application We anticipate Tony having site control by that time, and we, with your approval.
And the board resolution?
And acceptance, we should, huh?
That's when the board resolution will go in the next meeting?
Yeah, that's the resolution that we have on the table today.
Oh,
That allows
okay.
us just to submit the form.
Okay, it's on, yeah, okay, now I see.
And then you wanted, any progress with 3,600 you want to discuss? No?
We're still working on it.
Mhm,
Um,
understood.
We just have, the numbers are there. It's just, approach it, so.
Okay.
Pretty close.
Thank you, Tony.
So that's the next development we're going to look at,
Mhm.
and we're trying to identify another source of money that will fund that. But
Mhm.
because we couldn't get the 3,600, we couldn't get the developer or the owner of the property to agree, and in order to apply, you need site control.
And I think there were deadlines with this.
Yeah,
now.
and because of the deadlines. So this is another project that we had been looking at that is great economic development for the town of Cheektowaga. And this is going to be a good project moving forward.
Mhm.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thanks.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, Rick, have you heard anything? Oh, hi. Hi, Steve. You're next on the agenda. If you want to come up, talk into the microphone. We have you on live streaming here. And I don't think you need to. No, no. We're just here today to present to us.
Steve Federico, Vice President Facilities for Calspan on Genesee Street,
Mhm.
across from the airport.
Okay. Well, can you just tell us about your project, what's going on? Because, we've had some issues
So
with the
specifically our
residents.
project, our addition.
The
that's
new
going
one,
on,
yes,
The new
come-
project,
mhm.
sure, yeah, with the Kubrick project,
Yes.
yeah.
Is that it, Rick, the new?
Or-
Yes.
Sure, yeah,
Mhm.
we are, the rear of our campus, we have 70-plus acres, if you guys are familiar with our property. I apologize, I lost my voice, I was sick a couple weeks ago, so bear with me. We have 70-plus acres right across from the airport. Majority of it in the front is office space, and then the back, which is about half and half, is our test operations. We have aerospace and automotive test buildings in the back of the campus. We've had multiple buildings in the rear of the campus for decades. We were looking to expand one of them to add just more interior storage space, keep equipment out of the elements, keep private areas that customers can come in and work, so things aren't on site. That's really the extent of that project. We have multiple things going on at the same time. One of our tenants is doing a multi-million-dollar aerospace building, which is already approved and well underway. It's a bit behind. In conjunction with that project, we are working through changing the perimeter of our property at the same time with that project by building a continuous berm around the building, around the perimeter, and putting plantings on the berm. So that's different projects, but they're both happening simultaneously.
Mhm.
The addition project is much smaller, and, versus the other project, but they're kind of part and parcel. As our one group grew, we had some other space open up that we could take over for our automotive operations.
So that's just the storage, it's just the storage facility.
Well, it's not just storage, it's prep. We prep vehicles before they're crashed. If, our crash facility used to be outdoors, where the vehicle would run on an exterior track. We built our crash facility, the new crash facility, about 4 or 5 years ago, where all the crashes were brought indoors. But vehicles need to be prepped. There's sometimes weeks of prep that goes into prepping a vehicle before it actually goes on the test track. So the addition's gonna allow us to have multiple customers on site in their own private spaces, prepping vehicles before they go on.
But so then it's not storage.
Well, it's
Garage bay.
It's basically a garage. I mean,
Yeah, okay.
the vehicles don't have any flammable
Mhm.
components to them, right? When they come onto our campus, we drain them of anything that's flammable. They're then, we outfit them with cameras is really what it boils down to. So yes, I would call it storage because the vehicle's literally there stored, waiting to be tested. And because a lot of the vehicles are prototypes, they can't sit outside. These vehicles are prototypes, and that level of secrecy is extremely important. So that space is going to allow that group to continue to, add more customers and have more people on site all the time.
So, I've been dealing, as you well know, with the residents.
Can you guys hear me okay, or?
Yes,
Okay.
There is a group that is speaking out for the neighborhood, and there's been numerous problems from CalSpan. Nobody's being notified, the houses over there, when you guys are adding to the building, doing contracts, whatever you're doing, you're not informing the residents. And the berm that you speak of, have you seen that berm?
It's still under construction. Yeah, I've been there for 10 years, so yes,
Okay,
I have seen it.
so the-
Actually, that was my idea to put it in.
So the berm that they just put up, backing up to Dean Road and Highland and all them, all that is there is dirt.
It's still under construction.
But you guys told me that you were putting in trees. Am I correct?
There are saplings that have been planted all along the top of it, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Have you seen that lately? They supposedly did that in May. There's nothing there. There's not even a stick there.
There actually are a lot of saplings that are planted, yes.
So you mentioned that there's,
So there's
under
saplings that
construction, when is the time frame to have that
So
construction
that-
complete?
wait,
The-
no, I gotta let her speak.
So the berm, so that's why I wanted to break
Yeah.
those two things up, because the construction of the berm really had nothing to do with the addition to the other building. The construction of the berm was part of the, which we call the Kubrick MSH facility, which was already been approved 2 years ago, plus or minus. That building's been under construction. One of our tenants, Kubrick, they do aerospace, hypersonics research. That project has been delayed due to government funding. So the construction of the berm is tied directly to that project. Spoils that came out of that project, instead of off-hauling them, we built the berm. We said we would put saplings. We ordered 2,000 saplings from the DEC, already planted them. As we continue and complete the berm, the balance of it, we will be ordering another 1,000 saplings and putting them on top.
The landscaping over there is not being touched. The grass is not being cut. I just pulled up on my phone the pictures that I took back in July.
When they complete the project, they will be seeding the entire berm when they complete their project. Their project is still under construction. We're not excited that it's behind either, right? We wanted their project to be done.
But this has looked like this for years over there.
No.
No,
hasn't.
it has,
I've been
because
there for 10 years.
I have pictures of this.
Is there
I've
any way you
been there
can
for
send
10
those to
years.
Kim?
The campus hasn't
Yeah.
looked, in my opinion, better since the 10 years I've been there. When I showed up there, it was overgrown, and let me speak.
Oh, I'm not
It
saying
was-
anything.
Okay, well, it was overgrown, there were shrubs and overgrowth
Well,
everywhere.
send it
The
to us, the
residents,
picture.
hey, I met with town, I met with town folks that said, there's too much growth, you need to cut it all down. What did we do? We cut it all down. And then what happened? We cut it all down, now you can see the property. Now, why'd you cut it all down? It's like, we went by request of the same residents and cleared that entire fence line. And I can swear that I was responsible for facilities for the last 10 years. We cleared that entire fence line from the sewer or the sanitary, the storm easement, all the way to the end of our property line for all 4 of those houses.
And when did you do this?
6 years ago, 7 years
Oh,
ago.
okay, well,
20
here,
years
let
ago.
me show you a picture of what it looks
Can you
like
come up
today.
and just take a
So,
look
yeah,
at
sure.
it?
Okay? This is what they
Unfortunately.
look at when they look out their window. That's the fence backing up to the residence.
Which house is that?
It's not a house, it's by the berm, where all the weeds are. There's the fence that you're talking about, and that's what it looked like back in July. These residents should not have to look out their window at this. This is ridiculous.
Okay. Which part of the property is?
And also, they're not being notified. The
Of-
residents
of
are not
what?
being notified when you guys are putting up something new. Or in the summer, when they sprayed the asbestos and got it all over the houses over there?
Oh, hold on, we didn't spray asbestos. That's-
Okay, what was it?
we would never go spray asbestos. You're talking about weed, vegetation?
I don't think it
control?
was that either. Mark, what was it?
Asbestos?
No.
No, we would never spray
Okay.
asbestos. Like, that would be
No,
like,
you know what, you are, it's
Yes.
not the insect,
we have a contract with a company to specifically
asbestos.
treat the entire fence line.
Yeah. On one of the sprays that you guys did, there was foam, got on the houses, the neighbors called, and nothing was done. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
And I apologize, it was
I
not
apologize
asbestos.
too. I don't know that specific instance. We were not happy with our vegetation control contractor this past season. We've already made that change for the next year.
So I guess the other thing is the noise. When you guys are over there working, all hours of the night, the crash tests shake the houses over there. Like, I don't understand why they cannot be told about this before it happens. And that's them asking me.
Well, come on up.
Yeah, come on up, Mark.
Yeah.
And that's them asking.
So this is Mark Parisi.
Yes.
Hi, Mark.
I grew up on, let's see, 120 Westbrook Drive.
Oh,
120 Westbrook Drive.
Yeah,
I-
all right.
I had a great time in my, we had a dead end. I could throw a wiffle ball from my house onto the 33. So, relative to crash testing, we have multiple different departments. We're not the only ones making noise on the campus. We also house Department of Defense program, Kubrick, which does some very, very high-end impact testing, and they actually have an alarm that goes off, which is beep, 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 and then they have what's called LENS. It's a large effect noise system that goes on, so that they do that testing. We don't get to go in their buildings. We have no control over any of that testing. We do have a crash hall. That crash hall was the new building that was built. We operate that from
Can I
the
just
first
ask you a
crash in the
question, Mark?
morning.
Is that the one by Highland?
The new crash facility on the very back, yeah.
And that door's supposed to be closed at all times?
That door is closed 99.9% of the time. Absolutely. Because we have security issues with our customers, so we really can't open it. There's one type of test that we open it for, and that's the only time that we open it. So 99%, and I could go back and give you a full record of when the door would have been open and when it would have been closed, because of the type of development work that we're doing for the vehicle customers there. But those crashes occur from, probably the first crash, if we're lucky, can occur at like 8:30 in the morning, and the last crash is typically at, 4 o'clock. Sometimes it goes off later. It might go off at 7 o'clock. It might go off at 8 o'clock. But it's totally enclosed. I mean, we have to have an environmentally controlled chamber to make that happen. So that's the crash facility. That's the new building. It does have a garage, but like I said, 99% of the time that is closed.
I will forward you, I don't have
Yeah,
my
that's
town
fine.
phone on me. I will forward you the videos that the residents are sending me.
And it could be open, I mean, we do 500 crashes a year in that facility. So it could be open for 5 to 7 crashes a year. Absolutely.
And the previous facility was open all the time. The previous
Yeah, the
facility
crash facility was
never-
outside.
The previous facility, the door was never closed. The vehicle actually ran down a track in the elements, through an open garage door, and into another vehicle or the giant concrete barrier inside the building with the garage door open. So our previous building, that's what was happening. The new building, like Mark said, we're doing more tests, there's 500 tests, but 5, I don't know, I'm just making.
It's a number less than 10 where the door is open, because we can't.
Previous
it's-
years, over 100 were being done with the door open.
All right, I will
Yeah.
forward you those
Yeah,
videos.
please,
I will.
absolutely, yeah, that's fine. Yep.
I have a question.
wait a minute, Jerry, Councilmember Jasinski's next.
So
I just
going
wanna make
back
sure you're
to when
okay.
you said about the construction of this berm, when do we have a time frame of when it's expected to be
Yeah, we
taken
have,
care of?
were you able to forward that email over to the team? Okay, so we had forwarded an email applying. Right now, again, it's all dependent on the hopefully by the end of this year, it will be stabilized.
So you're saying December 23, October 23?
I mean, not, hope, cross our fingers, September, October of 23. Worst case scenario, it's gonna leak into 2024.
Is that the end, which part of the berm is?
That's the
going-
last.
The last
Oh,
piece,
the-
but the one that goes along the backside?
They're gonna, well, they'll stay, they're gonna do the seawalls.
Oh, right.
What about something
Gotcha,
short-term
gotcha, yeah, yeah.
to alleviate some of this? I mean, you're a pretty, large company. I think you could facilitate something, that could be, set up or something in the meantime?
Yeah, we will push our tenant to, and our customer to stabilize what's already there now, right now, we're gonna, coming out of, well, not where right now, in the middle of it, but, for the spring, so that we can have, growth in the summer. We will do our best. They are hamstrung by what they are able to get funded for their project.
Could I ask you for a progress report for that, for the board, as that goes along?
Councilmember, are you done? So I can, okay, Jerry Kaminsky?
Yeah, I think we got a little bit off track. I was assuming that this was about the site approval for the addition you were putting on. And I don't discount any of these other issues, problems, or whatever it would be. But I'm assuming after looking at all the drawings, the location, it's pretty centrally located, and I'm guessing at this, it's probably 800 to 900 feet from the nearest household, I would imagine. Is that pretty
Yeah.
close?
Yeah, at least.
Yeah.
It's almost dead nuts in the center of the property. It's not close to the.
Yeah, and I guess
the
evidently,
fence line.
Kim, she just sent you an email. Can you, by any chance?
Could you look at those
There's a
pictures?
building already there.
yeah, it's an addition to a building.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I don't have the drawings in front of me, but I think it had a 20-foot overhead door on it and a man door.
Right.
Set of stairs going outside, and I don't think, I realize all these other issues, but I'm concerned about getting the site plan straightened out, which really is just a formality at this point in time. And I think the other issues may be addressed at another time.
Okay, and we're going to pull up a couple of the pictures. Did you get anything or not yet? All right, we'll go on to Linda Hammer and then back to Chris.
Just a question. You guys are putting a berm, is it you that are actually putting the berm or the other people that are building on the property?
It's a part of the project from our tenant.
Your tenant, but you actually own the property?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're the property owner, so putting up the berm, I mean, wouldn't it be nice if you could be a little bit more neighbor-friendly and put up a berm that's high enough with some, not shrubs, I would say spruce trees or something like that on top to give them some relief from the sight line and the noise? And I know what you're talking about when you say saplings from the DEC, they're twigs this big, because I know other people that have gotten them. So, I mean, those are gonna take 20 years before they turn into a tree, if they survive.
I don't know about 20 years.
Yes.
Well, it's similar to, actually, I think it's part of Cheektowaga where the 90 and the 33 meet. If you notice where the DOT, a lot of their storage yards at the clover leaves, they've built berms and they've put willow saplings around them.
Yeah, but you know
Right,
what?
on
Where you
purpose.
are, there's gonna be deer there, there's gonna be all kinds of things, anything small is gonna be eaten. I mean, they'll be gone.
Spruce trees will blow over, spruce trees, I mean, we have to, berm needs to be constructed in a manner at which it can be maintained. That's also what Councilman Madamchuk's saying, we're not maintaining.
But I see a lot of
You can't build
berms.
a berm like this that you can't mow,
Yeah,
right?
there's a lot of
So
berms
we
with
submitted as
spruce
part of
trees.
that project, a berm that made sense for construction, it made sense for maintenance, and was better than what used to be there for the neighbors, and that project was approved. We are not, go ahead.
No, I just was gonna ask you, why do you need to spray that?
The fence,
Yeah, what is the
because
reasoning?
we're getting pulled, right? We don't like the
Just kill the
vegetation,
weed, kill
get rid of the
the weeds along
vegetation, then you kill the vegetation, and someone else says, oh my gosh, I can see the property.
So you're killing vegetation, that's
Yes,
what
on
you're
the fence
doing?
line.
You're not doing it for bugs or stuff like that?
Nope.
So so you're putting like a defoliant on there and killing
I
everything?
can send you guys the MSDS sheets. I don't know off the top of my head what they're applying. It's New York State approved or licensed applicators. It's a third-party vendor that we use. We're not allowed to actually do it ourselves. We have to hire somebody else out. So we can provide that information to you guys if you would like it. But that was,
Nothing?
we've been,
Your Tom?
K-Burst at T,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
K-Burst at TOCNY.
Yeah.
Maybe there were too many of them.
But I just wanted to show you what your berm looks like
Yeah.
from the residence side.
In August,
And I guess
from August?
it could have been
Can you just
May.
come up? It's just easier if you could just come up and take a look.
Sure.
We can't get it up on the
Yeah.
screen,
I mean,
unfortunately.
this is your berm that they're looking at.
correct.
To them and to me, it looks like just a pile of dirt.
It's dirt, yep. It
Yeah.
is not, it is not.
That ain't, nothing's gonna be up overnight, it's not even gonna, it's gonna take longer than a year. And these residents are really having issues with the noise over there. So you put these little sticks in, but it's gonna take forever for them to grow. So in the meantime, what are
It's gonna
the,
have grass though.
Yeah,
It's gonna have,
the gra-
it's
the
gonna have-
weeds?
the grass is.
yeah,
the
not now,
weeds?
there's been no,
The
there's
grass
been no
hasn't
grass
been
planting.
planted, so.
There's no grass planting on that berm right now.
Yeah, but then how are you gonna cut around the saplings?
What's that?
How would you mow the lawn around all these little saplings?
The berm has a.
Well, let's get grass on the berm first. That would be the key. Because if that berm was completely grass, the view on that berm is 100 times better than just looking through the fence when there was no berm. But I agree with you. You can't look through a fence
Right.
and see dirt and a bunch of weeds. That is not the intention at all. The intention is to get grass on the berm such that you can mow the berm, right? And mowing the berm will obviously help it. Ultimately, depending on the number of trees and how many actually make it, I know, I bought it, they tell you they're gonna grow a foot a year. You know, how many actually grow? If that berm is just grass, it's 1,000% improvement from the fence line no. What I'm saying is with that berm on the grass, 1,000% improvement to those residents from the fence line. When they had nothing, they had no barrier to the back of Calspan. It was looking through the fence for 40 years or whatever it's been. So that berm is a huge benefit. It's a huge benefit from a sound perspective, and it's a huge benefit just from an overall landscape look perspective. Once it gets grass, I agree with you. I understand, you know, like.
And I think
dirt
their
and
quality
weeds.
of life, it's just all the noise constantly. And then they're looking out their windows, and when you do your crash testing, when you and I took that ride, and I
Right.
said to you, why are all these cars sitting out here? And you said, oh, they'll be picked up at some point.
Well, they're owned by the Federal Department of Transportation,
Right.
owned by National Highway Transportation.
Do you have to leave it right
Safety.
there? Where you
That's-
had it?
That is, those vehicles, yes, that's where we have to leave them. They get sold by auction regularly.
They're all
So we-
smashed up.
We just, yeah,
And that's the problem. This is one of the issues that the residents are having.
right. But that hasn't been any
They look
different for the
they look
last
out their
50 years.
windows, or they go on their patio at night, and this is what they're looking at.
Well, if they're
And
sitting on their patio, they'll be looking at a berm. They won't be able to see those cars if they're sitting on the patio.
How high is the berm?
I believe it's 8 feet. I can get you the details. Let me do that. I
Between
mean,
6 and 8 feet,
yeah,
I would
and
say.
the other part of it too, you asked about mowing, it's specifically flattened out on top so that it can be maintained, so that things can grow on it. so
No,
it
I
can
get
change.
it, but I was just wondering if it's high enough.
Yeah, I mean, we'll send you, it was a part of the construction details from Cooper's project, but we'll send it over. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
And from the
We wanted
noise,
the berm to be, sorry, Mark,
Yeah, go
trust me,
ahead.
we wanted it to be complete last year as well. This isn't, I mean, I don't wanna be wasting your time, right? We don't wanna be impacting the neighbors. We have.
I get text messages every day. Mark,
I do, I understand.
I
I was getting them.
get text messages
Honestly, I gave them my
every day.
cell phone number,
yeah.
the residents.
Thank you, that was nice.
And
So-
this goes on a daily basis. I've got video coming through my phone at 1 in the morning, like, and I shut my town phone off. Mark, you know what it's
Oh,
like.
I do, I have the pictures, I
Yes,
have
I have the
video.
pictures, the whole nine
I mean,
yards.
they actually showed drones, which were not our
Right.
drones, flying over the property, so that, I mean,
Which
there's
gives
other.
us, which gives us agita, the fact that there's drones flying.
And
over
you've
our
seen it.
I did,
Yeah.
I did, yes,
I just guess
absolutely.
the
But from-
residents are very
Right.
upset because they're not being told, and it seems like you just keep adding on and adding on, and they don't see any of their little concerns being noticed, being touched.
So,
being talked
there's
about.
certain things that, like, can never, like a cooling tower.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like, that we can't stop a cooling tower. It'd be like asking you to shut your furnace
Right.
off at 1 or 2 in the morning, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
we can't do certain things. It's just not feasible. So some of the whoosh, like fan noise, like that's part of our facility. It's been part of our facility forever. We've had the cooling towers at our wind tunnel and our other facilities for as long as we've been alive.
I get,
And unfortunately, it's part of our business. I get it. So a truck that's parked at another parking lot shouldn't be on our property at 2 o'clock in the morning, who's idling. We don't want that either. So we're with you. And if that's, we have 24/7 security, so we're always telling our security guards to be paying attention to things like that. If a trucker shows up, they need to park and shut their vehicle off. If they need to sleep, then they can either sleep in their cold cab or go rent a hotel room for the day's end. I don't care, but they shouldn't be idling. So little things like that, we're hearing you and we're trying to implement them the best we can. At the end of the day, folks driving trucks and a security guard at 2 in the morning, we're doing the best we can with what we have. We're not purposely idling vehicles. Sometimes that happens once in a while. But there's other things happening in the facility that we just can't change because that's just, we need to maintain conditions in our buildings. His building needs to maintain 68 to 72 degrees. There's leaving a vehicle, not testing it to a morning, but the vehicle's there, soaking, waiting to be tested the next day. We will, I am responsible for the facilities. I'm not happy that this is, we're having confrontation right now. It's part of life and we're gonna work through it together. We will go back to our customer and do everything we possibly can to have a plan in place to get that berm stabilized. What's already there, the piece that's gonna get constructed, most likely won't be stabilized till here. That's the last, I'll call it like the elbow or past Highland.
it's around the
As you
corner.
head
Yeah,
west,
around the bend.
before you
Yeah.
then head back
Yeah.
north. That's the last piece that needs to get built, but what's along Highland, we will do everything in our power to get that stabilized as quick as humanly possible. So that we can, do the best we can.
So the question still is about this site plan for Kubrick, I assume, right? Is that
No, the site plan for the
this,
store, no, the storage.
this new, the storage, okay, yeah.
That has nothing.
Okay, so this is
That's
a
what I was
new
saying, there was two different
tenant.
things. I know we were gonna talk about the other pieces, right, which
Right,
Right.
are different, has nothing to do with the storage building. But the storage building is an extension to our old crash building, which used to, our vehicle ran outside and the crash out. We prep and store things inside of that building. And we are extending that building so that we can continue to add space, to add more areas for interior storage, similarly, like you're saying, that customers, your neighbors don't wanna look at stuff, like, trust me, if we can cover it, it'd be great. It's just not in the cars to
So
build a
there's
million
no
buildings.
noise, I'm sorry, there's no noise coming out of that
You
building?
were reading my mind, I was just.
Doors
gonna say,
shut
There
or
is
whatever?
no test equipment inside of that building at all. There's a lift to lift up a vehicle so that we can actually
You'll have
work on a
four-
vehicle. No different than the lift you see at a auto store.
You'll have 4 trucks
So-
bringing a vehicle into the building, door open, bring
Yeah.
the vehicle in, set it down, put it on a lift.
And we
shut
do
it.
that, and we do it today, so,
Right.
I mean, except we do it outside. So, it's not, from a winter testing perspective, it's not super conducive to the guys that we got working out there. So basically, it's just protection to them. The work's already being done. We're not adding, we're not adding a new process or new products or technologies in with this. It's just literally going to be able to house what's happening inside from a vehicle preparation perspective, so.
So where are you doing this now?
outside.
In the winter and all that? Is it towards that back
In this,
fence?
yeah, in fact, and if you had Google Maps, you could pull up our site plan and I could show you just.
Well, you did, I think there was some attached to your email that Rick,
But I was gonna make it even easier for her, she could just do a search and not have to worry about pulling up the document and just look at the overall top plan. Cause we
Yeah.
do, so there's, speaking to noise, we have the indoor crash facility, which we talked about, and the door, like I said, needs to be closed for us, 99% of the time. We have a tire test facility that's further inland, so to speak, and that's next to the Kubrick facility that does the large impact test. And they literally send off beep, 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 and it's like 30 seconds before they actually make the impact. So there's a warning relative to that. Then we have an outdoor test facility. So we have there's a diesel engine motor. It's the same motor that's been there for 25 years crashing vehicles, so it's not anything additional. That runs potentially once a week, roughly, less during the winter because of obviously the conditions. And we use it, it's a tow system, so it's an outdoor crash and it's meant for perimeter protection. So it's used by military bases to test devices that are meant to stop things. It's meant to test the poles you see in front of buildings and stores, bollards to protect buildings. So we actually do that testing. It's for the, it's an ASTM test, which ends up for the Army Corps of Engineers. So that testing gets put into the Army Corps of Engineers test logs, such that they have these devices.
And Mark, that, really quick, that drive, which Mark, right
The drive
there,
is sitting right
that
there.
used to run, say Crash used to run 150 tests. That used to run all the crash tests, which are now indoors. So what used to be 150 tests for that drive
Is now running 30.
So like, that came way down, it's moving.
That, like you say, that was running 100 times, now it's running 30 times. These are the outdoor crash tracks where we can test the bollards or gates, fences for military.
Which are all existing and have been that way for,
Been that way forever, it's not anything new. So we took all these outdoor crashes and they're now 100% indoors, 99% indoors. This diesel engine, which is the tow for the vehicle system, allows us to pull the vehicle down. And there is a collision that occurs at the end, and that's where you take either a small car, pickup truck, or a large truck vehicle is what they use for military installations to be able to test their devices. So those occur at these 3 locations. So we do not today send off a 30-second beep, 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 but we could. Now that as I'm talking and we're sitting here, we could send off the same thing. So when the large impactor that the Department of Defense and Kubrick runs is actually over here. And so this actually has an alarm that goes off, and that alarm goes off for 30 seconds.
It might be too
That
much.
just tells everybody within the area that there's gonna be a test, and then that test runs on that. We don't know necessarily what they're testing inside or how the testing works.
we're not allowed in the buildings. We've got multiple different folks, right? Business units, Mark business units, my staff, separate from Kubrick. So now when we know that's happening, we can't go in a building, don't go in a building, because they're doing,
But if they wanted a warning for when we were running tests, we could do the same thing here.
It might be too much beeping, I
I
don't know.
know, that's what I mean, I don't know what's the best way. So here's another option, and I'm not saying it's a great option from our perspective, but it might be capable. I was out at the quarry, out in Niagara Falls, and I saw a blast up front in
up at
Bristol,
Lafarge.
which
Or,
was Lafarge, which
Yeah.
was unbelievable, like, they blasted all the smoke off of that wall, and, obviously that's a serious noise explosion that occurs, and they literally send out a text message to a main number that goes to, like, the 12 houses that are right along there, so that they know that there's gonna be an explosion. Now, we have nothing near that.
To that
No,
magnitude,
right.
In terms of what we're doing, but, like beeping or some notification, if that was something that was interested in, that could schools and I have some of them on my cell phone.
Right.
So, as an option, I wouldn't say we should go out and do it right now.
No, just leave it alone for now.
I would just say go back and, that's
Mhm.
something that can be done at a later time.
Mhm.
if
Okay.
necessary.
Yes, Councilmember.
Do you have like a field day where some of the residents can come and tour the campus? Because what you were saying about blasting, I live over by the old crushed stone, and there were some issues, and they offered like tours where people can come in and tour the site. Do you offer anything of such?
I did.
Mm.
We brought them through. I took everybody back there, showed them everything on campus, where the tests were. We drove all the way back and around, so there was maybe six of the residents maybe at that time.
Yeah.
That we had on campus at that time, so, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just a matter of if there are residents that are interested to having a closer look that haven't.
And also, I think if you're doing any project like expanding with this storage facility, just notify the residents what's happening there.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
with
Yeah,
a site plan and just say, this is what this is, it's no big deal, you know, shouldn't provide.
And actually be able to take a look inside, which is good.
And explain it, yeah, maybe
right.
just educating them.
So this is the building.
Okay.
Was it 20 feet?
Mm-hmm. I think that'd be great if you, I think they want just communication and notices from you, what's going on there, that probably would help.
Do we, if we get a list of people and email?
Well, you could go on our GIS map right on the website, or you can FOIL them, but, and there it has you can just see the map like here, but on each, you can see each parcel, and it tells you the homeowner's name and the address.
So you guys were kind of, you kind of started hitting on, I was writing down some notes here to ask you a question. How well in advance do you find out, because you have other tenants there, DOD, Kubrick, and then you guys are there, and I'm sure probably a couple others. How soon in advance do you find that a test is going to go on your campus from a tenant? Do you know a week in advance, a day? Sometimes not at all, you just,
Not at all.
the test, okay.
Yeah, they don't tell us at all what their schedule is, or anything.
They're just
they're
tenants.
actually not. They're not, like, I'm in charge of all the facilities. There's several areas within the campus that they, and then there are these premises that I can't.
And that 30-second beep is really all you know.
A 30-second
Beep is really, okay.
We know.
If there was an emergency, I would have to call somebody and I would have to get an escort there.
Gotcha. Because I was going to recommend the same thing, like a text alert or an email, once a week saying, hey, these days we're going to be doing testing, about the 5 o'clock hour or whatever.
But they don't know that, though.
Well, they could do an opt-in, is what I'm saying, if they
No,
mail
but,
everybody.
yeah, it's the tenant would have to
The evening will
notify them.
provide that. The only, like I said, the only real outdoor testing that we're doing is in this area, from an impact perspective. And again, if I was living here, I wouldn't mind getting a text message saying, hey,
Mhm.
we're gonna crash. There's gonna be a crash. And here's a
Exactly.
15-minute, we can give a 15-minute warning. This way it's not, somebody's not jumping off the
Yeah.
couch.
And those tests are happening Monday through Friday typically.
It varies which
Yeah.
day of the week it is. It's typically only one a week during the summer. Once in a while, there might be two. Some of them are low impact and they really don't have any noise associated with them, so it doesn't matter.
Typically on a Monday through Friday during
Oh,
normal
yeah.
business hours.
Yeah,
They're not,
100%
because
Monday through
it's
Friday.
videotaped, you're not gonna do it outdoors at night because your
Right,
visuals
yeah,
will
we
be
have to,
jeopardized, right?
right.
So,
How many decibels is that beeping?
Beeping, I don't know.
I don't know, I can tell you the next time it goes off.
Most of them are about 110,
Yeah,
110 to 120.
is that what it is typically, an alarm or something along those lines?
Yeah, because honestly, I go through it all the time with my business, getting deliveries in the middle of the night, backup alarms.
Okay,
Pretty much the same thing, and
yeah.
they're mandatory. You can't do away with them.
Yeah, that's probably, I wouldn't be surprised, right under where the alarm goes off, they got a red light and that alarm, kind of further away you get, obviously, the noise level.
So if you can, I think just to wrap it up right now, you're going to send a letter out, something to the residents. Rick can show you where to find those names. It's right on our website, GIS map, and you just got to zoom in there and you can get them all, or maybe he can get you the list. And it's in the middle of the property, so it's not near a property line, this new storage facility, right? but I think just explaining it might help the residents, put them at ease, what's going on there.
Okay, that's fair, yeah. And
Okay.
we will push to.
And the berm.
As quickly as possible.
Okay, this
Yeah,
spring.
I mean, we want it
Yeah.
as well. They were frustrated, their project sat for better part of more than 9 months, it just sat there, so.
Okay.
At the mercy of their funding sources.
Well, thank you for coming tonight. We really appreciate it. Mhm.
Yep.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you, you too. So Linda Hammer had requested to talk about the Board of Ethics.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to pull that,
Oh,
for more information.
oh, you should have told me. Okay.
I- You do it better.
Yeah, because I was,
No, it was, I didn't make the decision on, so.
oh, all right, okay, so we're going to pull that one. Okay, and then now we have to go through the resolution items. We have quite a few for tonight. On the agenda, so just to remind everyone, we have John and Margot Katsamatidis coming to the meeting tonight. Margot, the wife, is of Polish-Russian descent, and John Katsamatidis is the president, chairman, and CEO of Gristetti Foods and Quick Fill Red Apple, and they were also a presenting sponsor for the Polish Festival in 2022. So they're going to be here tonight for us to give them a proclamation to thank them for their generosity to the town so that we could have this Polish festival. So that, we're going to start out with that, just to remind everybody. Then we'll go through these resolution items. So it's exciting to see that we're having the chief here, and we're appointing 6 new police officers to the force, correct?
Good evening, correct. We are continuing to replace retirements. Unfortunately, this doesn't get us up to full strength yet. We canvassed the list and we're only able to come up with 6 viable candidates. Just future issues we'll have, there were only 750 people who took the last Erie County Civil Service Police exam. That's in all of Erie County. So we will continue to do our best to hire. There is a note on this resolution about pending civil service clearance. That's for all of the candidates. I can update that as of today, we have approval for 5 out of the 6. It's a procedure that we're used to. We are at the mercy of when civil service just finally notifies us that everything is done. It's not a reason for concern. It's nothing. It's just to be on the up and up and legal. We haven't gotten final approval, but sometimes we get that after they start. And it's just based on timing for the police academy, and it's beyond our control, so.
So wasn't there a new exam recently?
There was an exam in September. That's the exam.
So that's the one, you still haven't touched that yet?
No, we expect those scores to be out in April, so our next hiring will be off the new list, of which we've made the change to be only Cheektowaga residents, because part of the reason we only have 6 when I was shooting to hire 9 is at the last minute, people who don't live in town, who tell us, yes, they'll move into town, get offered jobs by the towns that they live in, and then we lose them at the last minute and we're not able to replace them. And it's something that's caused us trouble to keep up with our minimum staffing numbers. So we're working hard on it. We'll continue to, hopefully these 6 will get through the academy quickly and find a nice home here in Cheektowaga and be productive members of our force moving forward.
Okay, thank you, Chief. So we're having you first after the presentation. Okay. Then there are 2 public hearings tonight. We have the pilot for the Magnolia Housing Development Fund Corporation, and also to amend our Code of Ethics local law. And then we have a couple items that are coming off the table. One was the CalSpan site plan approval, 4455, and then Resolution 2 was to create a position of senior court clerk in the Justice Court. The warrant is Resolution 1. Resolution 2 is appointing resolution for Paul F. Grape, just want to make sure it's spelled, I guess there was some misspelling through that first resolution. And number 3 is the pause resolution for the 2014-15 resolution, adoption of full value for tax assessments. So what this will do is this will pause us for this year not to be at 100% and have to do a full town-wide assessment. So everybody understands that. Any questions? Okay, 4 would be call for a public hearing for the Cheektowaga 2023 annual plan for the community block grant and home programs. 5 is call for a public hearing to restore New York application filing. This is related to the presentation from, well, we heard tonight. And then 6 is a notice of hearing for demolition of 34 Virginia Road. 7 is a notice to bidders for air quality monitoring during controlled demolition of fire-damaged and or structurally deficient structures on privately owned properties in the town of Cheektowaga. Eight is a notice to bidders for removal of trees from various vacant and unmaintained properties in Cheektowaga. 9 is the notice to bidders for providing and installing emergency temporary fencing on properties in the town of Cheektowaga. 10 is the notice to bidders for pest extermination on or within various properties in the town of Cheektowaga. 11 is to readopt our policies and procedures for procurement of goods and services. 12 is to readopt our investment policy. It's pretty lengthy. Uh, 13 is to designate depositories for 2023. 14 is direct depositories to accept supervisor's facsimile signature. 15 is to establish salaries of town officials and employees for 2023. 16 is part-time wage adjustments. I actually got an email from Crystal Find, I don't see her here tonight, about 2 of the people on this list that she wanted to amend the salary. On page 38 of this list, or of the board packet here, Amanda McConaughey should be at $17 an hour, not $14.50. And the other one is on page 39. Robert Swiatkowski should be $17 an hour, not $15. So, Madam Clerk, did you get those 2? Okay, yeah, I checked with him, and yeah, we didn't know about it ahead of time. Okay, then 17 is to establish our town board meeting dates for 2023 and the first meeting of 2024. And 18 is to establish holidays for 2023 and the first holiday of 2024.
Supervisor, did you want to make a change to that December 26th date?
What was your recommendation as far as the wordage on that?
We had initially discussed that you were going to
No.
make a note on there about
No work session?
no work session and having the town board meeting at 5 o'clock?
Yes. Maybe we could add another resolved, or,
We can just put it in next to the December 26th date,
okay.
special time.
Okay, special
No.
time, no work session.
Yes.
Special time is 5 o'clock for the regular meeting.
Yes.
Who's the movers? I'm a mover, and Councilmember Adamzak, you're a mover. Are you okay with making that change? And then 18 is the holidays, and then the 19 is the program fees for youth and recreation. I had talked extensively with Crystal Find and getting her reasoning, and she did a lot of research on our fees compared to other towns and where to increase the fees and where not to, and always we want to benefit our residents, so we don't want to increase those fees too much for our residents. So this is what she came up with. I hope everybody had time to review it. Seems fine to me, but she's not here to ask her any questions. It's a few pages long. 20 is the designation of official newspaper. 21 is to retain the foreign language interpreters for 2023. 22 is the authorized supervisor to execute contract with Connie Minor, our grant consultants. That 23 is our stenographers for the calendar year 2023. 24 is designate our delegate for the Association of Towns Conference in February 2023, which will be Brian Kraus, who is going on behalf of the town. 25 is to approve the purchase of 5 new and unused 2023 Ford Police Interceptors, and included in that resolution is the DeLacy is taking trade-ins on the vehicles, and the chief had done some research, and they're good prices we're getting for these trade-in.
Sure, this is, we did a lot of this work based upon the price of new cars skyrocketing from where we were last year, well exceeding our budget for vehicles, and we know that if we don't replace on a regular schedule that we run into issues. We've tried all different ways to get rid of our old and surplus vehicles. I can assure you that they're of little value to us as police officers at this point, just because of the condition they're in, and the cost to maintain them has become more than it's worth having them. The last attempt we did was an auction. We did it ourselves so that we wouldn't have to pay the surplus or the fees to the auction company. These prices that are being offered on these vehicles exceed what we've gotten in the past on auctions, and it's just a really simple way for us to get rid of the surplus vehicles, and then also help us to have a quote that stays under our budgeted amount for the new vehicles that we do need. So happy to answer any questions if there are.
Any questions? Councilmember Adams, Act?
The 2000.
Wait.
Oh. The 2010 Ford Focus Fusion for 34.
Yep.
Well, there's nothing wrong with it? I mean, can't we possibly keep that and give it to somebody else in the town department?
No, according to the central garage is who we confer with a lot of these
Yeah.
vehicles, they're rotting out for 12 years of being sitting in salted parking lots,
Wow, with a
not
very
being
low
used.
mileage.
It's low mileage, but
I know.
I mean, 12 years of Buffalo winters and being, I mean, they're stored outside constantly. We don't have a garage. So they, these recommendations are based upon the garage and the time it takes them to maintain these vehicles. And just one thing I'll say about the low mileage vehicles, one of the efforts I've done is to try to reduce the total amount of vehicles that we do have, so that we're not ending up with a 12-year-old vehicle with 34,000 miles on them.
Yeah.
I mean, we are limited somewhat. We have to have a certain number of vehicles based upon the number of positions we have. But, we are doing more of sharing vehicles and stuff like that, just to try to avoid a situation of a 12-year-old vehicle with 34,000 miles.
Anybody else? Okay. 26 is authorized supervisor to execute agreement with Erie County for improvements to Stiglmeyer Park and Town Park within the town of Cheektowaga. 27 is the execution of the agreement with the Village of Depew for removal of dirt and fill. Actually, it's dumping into the Village of Depew, where they're putting in that solar farm.
No, this is
Isn't this-
the community center.
Oh, it is the community center?
Yes.
Okay. So we're dumping it there.
Correct. We're gonna
Okay.
dump it into a big hole that they've already
Yeah.
removed the bowling alley from.
'28 is the reappointments to the Veterans Affairs Committee. 29 is reappoint member of Planning Board. 30 is the reappointment of a zoning board member. 31 is reappointment of bingo inspectors. 32 is the appointment of a laborer in the highway department. 33 is a appointment of a motor equipment operator in the sanitation department. And then we have 34 is a travel authorization for our police department. 35, another travel authorization for police. And then we have 2 waiver items under the suspension of rules. Were 2 travel authorizations, one for the building and plumbing department to take the code enforcement class, which is local, and the other one is for neighborhood housing and preservation to take that class. And that is it for our resolution items. That was a tabled item, yes. That'll be at the beginning, because they were tabled
Okay.
last time, so. The other thing is I need to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss Williams versus Town of Cheektowaga pending litigation. Could I have a second on that? Councilmember Adamczak, all in favor? Aye, opposed, motion carried. We will return at 7 o'clock for the regular meeting.